Right. Here's something most people don't realize. When NATO needs to test its forces, really test them, they don't always go to Norway. They go to Wales and Scotland. Not because it's convenient, not because it's cheap, because Welsh mountains and Scottish Highlands break assumptions that nowhere else can break. Think about what makes good training terrain. Most people say realistic environments. Desert for Middle East, Arctic for northern warfare. But military planners look for something different. Terrain that reveals weaknesses, that punishes comfortable assumptions, that forces you to operate when everything stops working. The Brecon Beacons are only 886 meters high. Not impressive. But here's what makes them lethal. Weather changes every 20 minutes. Sunshine to horizontal rain to zero visibility. Boggy grass hiding ankle breakers. Wind that knocks you over. And temperature in that perfect danger zone where damp cold kills faster than Arctic dry cold. That's not extreme weather. That's unpredictable weather. And unpredictable breaks doctrine. American Marines train in the Beacons regularly. They arrive fit, confident, well-equipped. Within 48 hours, their kit is soaked, GPS is struggling, radios are patchy. They're learning a very British lesson. Technology fails. Weather is a weapon. Stoicism beats fitness when conditions are properly miserable. Scottish Highlands offer something different. Genuine remoteness. Tab for days and see nothing. No roads, no buildings, no backup. That forces self-sufficiency. You carry what you need because resupply isn't coming. You navigate by map and compass because your GPS battery died 40 kilometers from anywhere. For NATO forces used to robust logistics, this is revelatory. In peer conflict against adversaries with good air defense, you might not have reliable logistics. Scottish Highlands prepare you for that reality. Here's what nobody talks about. British weather isn't extreme by global standards. 0 to 20 degrees. That's mild. But it's never dry, always damp, always windy. -20 in Norway with proper kit. Cold but operational. +5 in Wales soaking wet with 40-mile-per-hour winds. Hypothermic in 3 hours. NATO forces learn this viscerally. Temperature alone doesn't tell you risk. Conditions matter. Navigation is another lesson. Welsh and Scottish terrain is deceptively complex. Rolling hills that look similar. In poor visibility, which is constant, terrain association becomes genuinely hard. Map shows gentle slopes. Ground is steep and exhausting. Map shows open hillside. Ground is knee-high grass hiding boulder fields. This forces proper navigation skills. Map reading, pacing, timing. Because if you don't, you will get lost. And getting lost in the Cairngorms isn't embarrassing. It's dangerous. Now strategically, this matters because NATO is refocusing on European defense. Potential conflict areas include Baltic states, Poland, northern Norway. Cold weather, complex terrain, limited infrastructure, exactly the conditions in Wales and Scotland. Norway is critical but has capacity limits. Britain has surge capacity, multiple training areas, better access, plus proximity. France, Germany, Netherlands are all closer to Wales than Arctic Norway. Lower costs, easier logistics, and year-round availability. Norway is seasonal. Wales and Scotland are terrible 12 months a year. Continuous training, not seasonal windows. If you want to understand how geography shapes military power, subscribe now because this channel goes deep into the systems that actually matter. Recent NATO exercise in Wales. Mixed units. Day 2. Weather turned savage. High winds. Heavy rain. Near zero visibility. Some units wanted to pause. British command said no. Push through. Because in real operations you don't pause for weather. The exercise continued. Absolutely miserable. Incredibly valuable. Every soldier learned they could operate when conditions were terrible. You can't build that confidence in a classroom. You build it by doing hard things in terrible conditions and succeeding. What NATO has learned from decades of training in Britain comes down to 3 things. Basic skills matter more than technology. GPS fails, comms fail, optics fail, map reading, endurance, and leadership still work. Assumptions kill. Most forces assume reasonable weather, working comms, available logistics. Training in Britain breaks those assumptions. Interoperability requires shared hardship. When German, British, and Polish soldiers tab through the beacons together, cold and miserable, that builds bonds. Shared suffering. That's alliance glue. Climate change is making this more relevant. Weather becoming more unpredictable globally. Wales and Scotland already offer that. Unpredictable weather. Rapid changes, wrong forecasts. Forces adaptation. Dealing with uncertainty. Operating when the plan falls apart. NATO recognizes this. Increasing usage of British training areas. More investment, more infrastructure. Over the next decade, expect more NATO forces rotating through Wales and Scotland. Here's the core truth. Military capability comes down to fundamentals. Can your soldiers navigate when GPS fails? Operate when comms break? Endure discomfort for days? Can junior leaders make decisions without constant guidance? You don't answer those in a briefing room. You answer them in the Brecon Beacons at 3 a.m. in horizontal rain with 15 kilometers to go. Most modern militaries have optimized for technology, firepower, logistics, all important. But sometimes they've forgotten basics. Navigate by map and compass. Endure hardship. Operate independently without technological support. British terrain forces a return to those basics. Not because British doctrine is superior. Because British geography doesn't give you a choice. When you train in Wales or Scotland, you can't rely on technology. Weather breaks your kit. Terrain breaks your plans. What's left is soldiering. Pure, basic, fundamental soldiering. That's why NATO keeps coming back. For lessons that only miserable weather and unforgiving terrain can teach. And those lessons are becoming critical. Future conflicts won't be clean, won't be predictable. Technology will fail. Plans will collapse. Forces that survive will be the ones who've trained for that reality, who've learned that basics matter more than fancy kit. Wales and Scotland teach those lessons better than anywhere else in Europe. Not through design, through accident of geography. British weather is uniquely miserable, British terrain deceptively challenging. British training doctrine has evolved to embrace that rather than fight it. That combination creates genuinely unique training value. NATO has recognized it. Next time you're stuck in traffic on the A470 in the rain, cursing Welsh weather, remember something. That same weather is making Allied forces more capable, more resilient, more prepared. Your miserable holiday weather is someone else's essential training environment. Final thought. This isn't about British exceptionalism. It's about geography creating opportunity. Wales and Scotland have the right combination of accessible terrain, terrible weather, and infrastructure to provide unique value to NATO. Alliances work because different nations bring different strengths. Britain's strength, somewhat accidentally, is geography that builds fundamental soldiering skills better than most other places in Europe. Not glamorous, not exciting, just effective. And in military affairs, effective matters more than exciting. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now because next video breaks down why the Brecon Beacons destroys more selection candidates than any other course in the world. What makes Penwy fans psychologically devastating? Drop a comment if you've experienced Welsh or Scottish weather. Did you realize the military significance? See you next time.